This is Joel. And this lesson, if we can call it a lesson, is the great secret. I call it the great secret inside of myself. Because it is a secret that I very rarely share with anyone. It is my secret. It has been the secret of several teachers of spiritual wisdom. Only they had the courage to say it in a very few words and then let it be forgotten by the world. The Master taught this secret when he said, "Resist not evil." When he taught that if someone takes your coat, you may give him your vest. If he forces you to walk 1 mile, walk 2. Resist not evil. Turn the other cheek. The teaching has never been clear to the world because of the utter impossibility of obeying those demands unless one saw the principle involved. It is as impossible for you as it has been in times past for me to permit others to take advantage of us without, in some measure, resenting it and resisting it. It has been, for you as well as for me, an impossibility not to resist or resent the injustices, the inequalities, the disturbing persons and conditions of human existence. And yet we are told, resist not evil. There is deep within our own being a point of quietness, a place, an area of consciousness into which nothing of the world enters to defile or make a lie. There is a point of consciousness within us which is never disturbed by anything or any person or any condition. Perhaps you have not achieved that point of consciousness, but it is a necessary experience. This point of quiet within us, I recently said, was like a deep, cool pool of water. It is a real stillness, a real quietness. It is a state of being, a state of consciousness, of an active quietness, and nothing of the world disturbs it. Nothing that goes on in the world, and no one who goes on in the world, even ruffles the water at the top of this deep, still, cool pool. It isn't easy to attain this state of consciousness because it is the non-resistant state of consciousness. Just now, as I thought of that pool of water, I also thought of the illustration that Lao Tzu uses of a stream of water that runs and also never resists the obstacles in its way. You remember his little stream of water that runs around rocks and under rocks and over rocks and finds little gullies here and little ruts there to run through, but never fights any of them, never tries to wear them down or brush them away. Oh, no, it just runs around them or over them or under them or in between. You see that illustration of water is quite apt. Let us see for a moment how we enter that quiet state of consciousness, that state of peace, into which nothing ever enters that defileth or maketh a lie, into which nothing enters that disturbs. Let us begin first of all by acknowledging that there is nothing in all this universe and no one which in and of themselves have power to disturb us. That whatever disturbance comes to us lies in our reaction to the person, the circumstance, or the condition. What difference would it make if we had only $1 in our pockets unless we entertained fear of lack? It would never be the dollar that would disturb us. It would be our fear of lack disturbing. What difference would it make if someone out there hated us or misunderstood us, unless our reaction brought the disturbance to us? Actually, it should make no difference to us what anyone thinks of us. Whether or not they know us correctly is their demonstration. Why should it be disturbing to us? But, you know, it is. We react badly to others' opinions of us or estimates of us. But can you, at this minute, sit back and ask yourself frankly, after all, who is hurt if a friend misunderstands you, mistrusts you, doubts you? Is it not their loss? Is it not for them to discover the truth about you? Once you entertain that idea, the opinion of the world cannot move you or disturb you, since you would allow each person to come to the truth about you in their own way. Your only necessity would be to maintain yourself in accord with your own highest sense of right, your own highest sense of integrity. Of course, if you fail in that, there also would be no need to be disturbed by anyone outside. The only disturbance then would be with oneself. And that could be corrected easily by coming back again in action, thought, and deed to a point measuring up to our own sense of integrity. And as long as we are measuring, living up to our own highest sense of right, what possible difference can it make to us if this one, that one, or all the others in the world do not understand, do not properly evaluate us? Now, sitting back quietly with this in mind, you can make the adjustment within your own being to that unfavorable condition of the outer world. You do not change any person or any person's estimate of you. You merely adjust yourself. You make an adjustment with that conflict within yourself until you come to the point of agreement and no longer resist, even mentally, what your friends or this particular friend or the world thinks of you. In the same wise, let us suppose that there is a problem of lack, of insufficiency, of world's goods, of opportunity. Sitting back here now as we are doing, quietly resolving this in our own thought, is the conflict because of the outer circumstance or because of our reaction to it? We will never change that outer circumstance by a continuance of the conflict with it. But once we can see that that circumstance or condition of the outer realm is not a power, is not something to be fought, but that our reaction to it is to be resolved within our own consciousness, we then settle back with no conflict to that condition and again have achieved non-resistance. Everyone who is on a spiritual path, seeking truth, searching for truth, trying to attain the consciousness of truth, has problems, one, two, or many. These problems have set up these inner conflicts, and these inner conflicts keep us from our peace. You might, at this moment, feel that in some way this is ignoring the problem. It isn't. I can assure you that this is the one and only permanent and spiritual way in which the problem can be resolved, overcome. First, look at the problem. Whether that problem be person, thing, circumstance, or condition in your life. Look at it. Face it. And agree that it of itself could have no power over you unless you, by your hating it, fearing it, made it a power over you. It of itself would lie dormant in the world. It of itself, regardless of its nature, it could have no power over you unless you gave it power by your resistance to it, by your fear of it. See clearly that no person could bring harm to you unless you empowered them. See that if someone were depriving you of something, it would only be because you were giving value to the something of which you were being deprived. Now, has it value? Has it any value in and of itself? No, no. Take money, take an object of art, and suppose you haven't it. What then? You still have the source of all supply, which is your God consciousness, your consciousness of truth. What difference would it make if you had nothing in the world of effect, as long as you had that substance, the invisible, which is the substance of all that outwardly appears? So then, to be upset, to be angered, to be disturbed by the loss of things would mean that you yourself had placed a value upon these things, and so your conflict wasn't with the loss, but with the value that you had erroneously placed on things. Resolve this within you. See within your own being that nothing in this outer universe has any more value than you are willing to place upon it. You know there is nothing in this world that cannot be replaced, even if you destroy this temple, this body. If sin or disease ravishes your body, you can rebuild it again by not fearing the condition, by not fighting it, by not hating it, but by seeing quietly and peacefully within yourself that even your body exists as an effect, and that your consciousness of truth is the substance, the law, the cause of it. And so you will rebuild yourself another body. Do not put power in the effect called body or called disease. If it is someone's enmity, look at it, hold it up before your own eyes. Is it a power, or are you giving it some power over you? Isn't God your consciousness? Isn't God the consciousness of all individuals? Then is there a power in hate, enmity, malice? No, then the conflict comes because you have placed power. You have placed power in enmity, in malice, in jealousy. Resolve that within yourself and agree that no such condition, person, thing in the outer realm has power to enter your consciousness? Why, no. Injustice, inequality, lack of opportunities, these things are external conditions. And in and of themselves, they have no power over you unless you are holding them in your thought as entities and identities, unless you are holding them in your thought as powers over you. Once you learn to dismiss them and realize that nothing external to your own being can enter to defile, to deprive, to limit, that all power is given unto you. All power resides within your consciousness of truth. Soon you will see that you have agreed with your enemies. You have agreed with your adversaries. You have given up resistance to the person, thing, circumstance, or condition that has disturbed you. In this wise, you resolve the thing within yourself. You do not fight it without. You do not argue with it. You do not refute. You do not try to overcome or destroy or rise above. You resolve it within your own consciousness. You take the entire situation and all of this world of persons and things, you take them inside of your consciousness and resolve them and bring yourself into at one-ment with the divine of you by seeing that there is no power outside, by seeing that any disturbance taking place within your consciousness represents your reaction to person, place, thing, circumstance, condition, time, or place. If you walk down to the beach for a swim, you will find that there are no troubles there. But as you sit on the beach or swim and begin thinking over in your mind the situations, the thoughts, the occurrences, the events, very soon you have your troubles with you. They aren't there on the beach. No, you have brought them there with you. You have raised them up in your own thinking. They aren't out there on the beach, you know. Not even those persons are there. No, only your concept of those persons and things and conditions. And you are entertaining them instead of resolving them into your own consciousness within your own being, and seeing them as gifts of the Father without any powers of injury or destruction to you. When you go into a hotel, the clerk assigns you your room, and you go there and you find the room empty. There are no troubles there. There are no discords. There are no inharmonies. You look out the window. You will see that you have no troubles out there. But perhaps you have brought your mail with you. And all of a sudden, you are again in distress, in frustration, in disturbance. Why? The room was empty until you came there. There were no disturbances there until you came there, and then you brought what with you? Disturbances? No. You brought your concepts of persons, places, and things, and began fighting them. Now see the difference. If you had come into that room and observed the clear atmosphere, the clean surroundings, the harmonies, the peace. And then, as persons and events came to your thoughts, you permitted them to be there without fight, without argument, without opposition. Do you not see that you entertain concepts of people and events, and that these concepts may, and probably are, erroneous? First of all, to be in keeping with all spiritual wisdom, you must acknowledge that no power exists outside your own being, that nothing and nobody in the without has power to enter your consciousness with a conflict, that all power resides within you, and that first of all, through your spiritual awareness, you have been given this gift, the ability to see that God is the substance, the law, the activity, and the true identity of every individual, regardless of any appearances to the contrary. As you practice that, you will find that even though these persons and conditions continue to exist for a time, your very ability to resist fighting them is the overcoming of them. Like the little streams of water that run around the rocks and under the rocks and over the rocks, but never waste energy trying to fight the rocks or break through the rocks. Yes, yes, yes. This is, I admit, this is the Christian doctrine. This is the doctrine of the Christ. But it isn't alone the teaching of Jesus. It is the revelation of all who have been gifted with the vision of Christ. I take you back for a moment to Daniel. Daniel, who described the 4 temporal kingdoms of this earth, and then said that they would be destroyed. All 4 temporal kingdoms would be destroyed. By what? A stone carved out of the side of a mountain without hands. Sit back a moment, will you? Fold your arms. Now think of a mountain. Think of carving a stone out of the side of that mountain while you sit there with your arms folded. Just in this moment of visualization of that idea, you will see the activity of the Christ overcoming and destroying all temporal kingdoms. What difference does it make whether the temporal kingdom is economic, mental, moral, physical, financial? It is a temporal kingdom, and it can be destroyed by a stone carved out of the side of a mountain without hands. Now, sit there and carve out of the side of the mountain, carve a stone. And already you perceive what that stone is. You have the power, sitting there with your arms folded, to carve out any stone other than the Word. Isn't any stone that you are carving a mental or a spiritual stone? Something not visible? you begin to perceive the nature of the Christ. This is it. This is it. While you were sitting there, carving that stone out of the side of the mountain without hands, you were not resisting or rebelling at the temporal kingdom. You had left those kingdoms behind you. And now as you look up, they are no longer frightening. They are no longer disturbing. You can see them now in their true perspective, because even for that moment, you weren't holding them before your own gaze with horror. In that moment of turning from them and turning to that mountain to see how you could carve a stone without hands, in that moment, your problem dropped. And that stone, which you haven't yet succeeded in actually carving, but which you now see to be the word of truth, the power of spirit, that already has destroyed all power for evil that was in your temporal kingdom. I said this is the great secret. Of course, you see now why it is a secret. You wouldn't dare tell this to anyone, would you? No, at all. Except to you. Except to you who have been listening. To the unfoldment of God as is, without defining, without qualification, without label. The moment you can see that God is, you are no longer even tempted to say or think what God is or how God is. No. Your whole consciousness is filled with, it is. You're not even tempted to define it, to qualify it, or even to name it. There is just that feeling of completeness filling your consciousness. Once you have attained that, isn't it a simple thing to sit back now and try to carve this stone out of the side of the mountain without hands, and see that the Word is your very consciousness taking form, your very consciousness of truth taking form is the stone carved out of the side of a mountain without hands, which destroys temporal kingdom. From this moment on, when faced with a problem, do not hastily turn from it and deny it and use metaphysical cliches as if by so doing that you are meeting the situation. No, face your problem. Look at it. Look at it and see if it doesn't exist as person, place, thing, circumstance, or condition, or law, claim of law, material law, of some kind or other. And if it is, ask yourself the question, has it within itself power over me? Or is it my reaction to it that gives it power? Is it not my fear of it, my hatred of it, that gives it power over me? Or in some cases even my love of it, that gives it power over me? The main point is to see that it, in and of itself, is not power, has not power. This ability to resolve these conflicts within yourself rather than to struggle with them on the without constitutes the measure of your Christhood, constitutes the measure of your stone carved out of the side of a mountain without hands. Resolve your conflict within rather than fight them in the without, and they will disappear. Then when you have resolved the conflicts within, do you know what exists? This pool, this clear, cool pool of water, a deep well of silence, a deep well of peace and contentment. Right at this minute, you are beginning to see that you can rest in this deep well of silence and contentment as long as you are not fighting something and someone in the without. Also, you can see at this very moment that you never will retire to those green pastures beside the still waters until you have resolved all conflicts within yourself and no longer battle persons and conditions outside yourself. The attainment of a state of peace begins at any given moment. The complete attainment is realized when the major conflicts of your existence have been resolved within you. This can never happen until you first agree that you can win no victory on the battlefield. If you win a victory on the field of battle, if you defeat your enemy, remember, your enemy will only live to come back to defeat you. Every time you attain a victory over someone or something, they exist from then on only for one reason: to come back and battle you. So victories on the outside are fruitless. Victories on the outside are too dearly won. Attain your victories within. Attain your victories by resolving your discords within your own being. Give up the battle. Resist not evil. Be like the streams of water that run and run and run. And when they can't get through, they go around. When they can't go around, they go above, and when they can't go above, they go beneath. But they never battle obstruction. Like these, we call meditation or cogitation. We call this pondering truth. And you see where, if persisted in, this will lead us back within our own being. There is someone called you, Y-O-U, you. And you withdraw within yourself. You do not withdraw from the world. Oh no. You will still go to the beach if you like. You will still go to business. You will still mingle with your friends and relatives, but you will withdraw from conflict with them. You will withdraw from giving to either person or thing or circumstance power over you. You will begin to look upon the world in the right light. You will understand all men as brothers. You will understand all properties, all things as being given to us for our use, for our joy. And you will place no undue values upon them, realizing they have none in and of themselves. If a thing is beautiful to you, it is because you vest it with qualities of beauty. If a thing is artistic to you, it is your artistic sense with which you are vesting it. If a thing has value to you, it is you who place the value upon it. Diamonds have very little value for those who dig them, and pearls have very little value for those that fish for them. It is we who place values upon these things. We. Now, give everything the value of beauty, joy, pleasure, utility, but give it no value worth hoarding. Give it no value that would enable it to grieve you by its absence or loss. Withdraw into yourself. Withdraw from the conflicts of the world. Be in the world. Be not of its opinion. Your human relationships will be determined not by what people think of you, but in most cases their thinking of you will be determined by your own degree of integrity with your own highest sense of right. Usually, the person who is living up to their highest sense of right is properly estimated by the world. Or it is true that in some spiritual values, the world cannot properly understand it or evaluate it, but that has nothing to do with you or me, since we, within our own being, do understand the things of the Spirit. But do we? If we still permit someone, something in the outer world to set up a conflict within us? No. Meditation on these things leads to the ability to resolve our conflicts within our consciousness instead of in battle with persons and things. Can you remember this? Do not set up warfare with persons or conditions in the outer world, but take these persons and conditions into your consciousness and resolve them there by seeing them as having no power in and of themselves. You cannot know the importance of this until you have taken one major problem and given up the battle on the outside realm and taken it into your consciousness and resolved it there. Once you have done that, you will have the great secret of life. You will find how it is possible to be in this world but not of it. You will find how it is possible not to resist evil and not to be concerned about those who might or would deprive you of this, that, or the other thing. How, when you are forced to go 1 mile, you can go 2 quite cheerfully, since there is no power to you in the mile or 2 miles. If $1 is taken from you, or 1 million, you can cheerfully face it, since your value will not be in the dollars, but in your consciousness of truth within your own being. All of the real values will now be understood to be within your consciousness, and that you have the power of placing your values upon the persons and places of the world, or, better still, through spiritual discernment, seeing them as they are and being satisfied with that likeness. You see, this is a spiritual universe. Every individual in this world is God's own being. Every individual in this world is constituted of the quality, character, and nature of God. And as you behold it, what remains to be battled? What remains to be fought? Just concept. Whether you entertain them or someone else does. Just concept. Everything and everybody in and of themselves is just God, manifested in infinite form and glory. The heavens declare the glory of God, the earth showeth forth God's handiwork, and surely the image and likeness of God can only show forth the nature and character of God. Then why battle concepts of men and women and things? The great secret: resist not evil. Agree with thine adversary. Do not struggle or strive with any one or anything in the outer realm. When struggle and strife appears to your consciousness, take it inside yourself and resolve it there, and find the peace that passes understanding. Thank you. This is Joel in Hawaii.